Today I'm going to show you some tips that I've learned along the way while trying to carve out these scales. I discovered using Post-its to draw my lines, as the little stickum part kind of sticks to the thing that you're drawing the lines on, and I'm visually spacing out my lines. You can visually do this, or you can use a ruler to space them out. But as you can see here on the ends, we're missing that pencil mark. So I kind of keep this for last. I use the Post-it to bend it around the edge and line up perfectly with that line. And that has really helped me a lot to get these lines in order. Now I'm going to use the same technique with the Post-it and draw lines going the opposite way. This is where I can visually see how big the scales will be. Now that the lines are done, I'm going in and rounding out the back side of the diamonds. This gives it that fish scale-like look. It's a good thing to point out that you want the diamonds to be tall and thin, not going the opposite direction. If they go the opposite direction, the scales kind of turn out really funky. And having them tall and kind of thinner like this, depending what fish you're making, it gives it that more scale-like shape. Each fish that you're designing scales for, you want to pay close attention to the size and the shape of them, and then that will help you determine how big your little diamonds should be, how fat, thin, wide, whatever. But it's just really fun to kind of check out these little details and see if you can roll them over into your carving design. Each step of this process takes a lot of time. My husband and I put hours and hours and hours into each glide bait, but it's just been so fun, bringing everything to life and trying out new things. And now I'm finally wrapping up with rounding out the backs of these diamond shapes, and we will get on to carving next. For carving scales, I like to use two different types of knives. One to draw out the scale, and then another to kind of carve out the edges. So I found both of these knives. They're each from separate kits, wood carving kits on Amazon, and they have just been so helpful in getting the look that I want. When I'm carving out these edges, I'm using pretty firm pressure and just trying to be as careful as possible not to let my hand kind of jerk back and cut down the side of it and lose control. So that's what practice is gonna help get you, more control with your tools. So I would just practice, get the feeling of the blade on your hands. But here you can see how that's starting to come out. And now I'm going to use my little edger tool that's going to pop the edges off of these little diamond scales. So I was using the prior knife along the back edge of the diamond, and for this one I am kind of cutting into the front of the scales, just on either edge. So that's going to give that scale that lifted look. It's been helpful for me to kind of work in sections where I do 1/3 of the fish, I carve into it, and then I kind of cut out the edges, and now I am working on my second part of the fish where I'm carving the edges, and then I will use my other tool. Just kind of switching it up instead of doing the whole entire fish, carved edges, and then going in and popping them all out. This just helps me break it up and but do whatever works for you. I'm carving on this blanket because I was wearing leggings the other day when I was playing around with carving, and I did that thing that I hope you don't do, where you lose control of your knife, and it went down and it cut my leggings. So I am always going to be carving either on a table or a blanket with some sort of protection. But here you can see the first part, it's all popped out, the edges are kind of coming to life, the scales, And now I'm about, I guess, a third way done with it all carved out. Here's a zoomed in look at how I carve out those little edges like that and pop them out. I have to say, this is probably my favorite part of the whole process. It's really satisfying to pop out those little edges like that. The closer I get to the gills or the belly or the top of the fish, I don't like to dig down too deep on these scales because it can risk kind of getting this like crumbling. So you just kind of gently cut into the scales when you're around those areas. That's another thing I realized and found helpful to keep everything looking cohesive. All right, we got one side of the fish done, and now I have a whole nother side to work on. But I hope you found this helpful with carving scales. Thank you for watching, and we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel as we start sharing more and more of our glide bait making experience.